The Super Mario Bros. Movie is directed by Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelinek, two directors for Teen Titans Go, with co-directors Pierre Leduc and Fabien Polak, who previously worked in the animation department for many of Illumination's other films. It was written by Matthew Fogel, writer for The Lego Movie 2, Minions: The Rise of Gru, and Big Mama's Like Father Like Son. It is relatively faithful to the world of the game, with a few things to link it to the real world, or their cartoon version of the real world. The brothers here are just regular plumbers from Brooklyn who get sucked into this world, and Mario needs to be taught to be a hero, often by Princess Peach, who is more than a damsel in distress in this one. It's a different version of this universe, but it's an interesting one. It's possibly the link to the real world that makes it more interesting. Elephant in the room. Chris Pratt is Mario, and he just uses his regular voice and doesn't try to sound like Mario. As you may remember, that was kind of a big thing, and combined with the fact that it was made by Illumination, people were already starting to say it was going to be terrible. Until critics were lukewarm on it, and then suddenly everybody got angry because they suddenly decided it was going to be the greatest thing ever. But with everything else looking almost exactly like the games, you probably won't even notice how he doesn't even sound Italian. Seriously, there is a lot of care put into making this look like the games. And even if the cast isn't part of that, they're still pretty good for what the movie is. Jack Black as Bowser is a particularly good addition. He also uses his own voice, but that helps give him more flavor, particularly in a couple piano ballad numbers where he goes full Tenacious D. The story is nothing new, no real surprises, and it has a lot of the type of things that people hate Illumination for. It's aimed at kids mostly, but as an adult who played a few Mario games, I was invested enough to not really care as much. It's at times funny and has a few interesting cartoon action scenes, including a Rainbow Road scene that almost feels like Mad Max Fury Road meets Mario Kart. It's nothing revolutionary, but was anybody really expecting that here? It's a fun family film. It finally understands that this kind of thing is best adapted as a kid-friendly animated movie. Yes, it does take it to the real world, but in a way that feels less of a cop-out than some other kids' movies that did the same. Maybe even the Sonic movies. This is one of the better video game movies I've seen. 2023 has been pretty good in that regard with this and The Last of Us. Five Nights at Freddy's has a lot to live up to now. Come on, act like you aren't a dead fad game. The most iconic video game franchise ever finally has a good adaptation.
Let's go racing! It's Super Mario Kart Funny Car Madness! Only on Super NES! Turn the track into a giant mud pit! Or burn rubber on ice, wood, or asphalt! Mix it up with the big boys! See Bowser in his Bigfoot-dropping truck! See Yoshi's go-kart really go! Mushrooms, banana peels, turtle shells! Dynamite! Check your rear view and make him eat dust! Or go into battle mode and ruin his day! 2 speeds! Fast and way too fast! It's 2-player fun on the split screen! Only for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System! Now you're playing with power, superpower!
And now, on with the show.
Fast X is from Louis Leterrier, director of The Transporter, Clash of the Titans, and The Incredible Hulk. It was written by Dan Mazeau, a writer for Wrath of the Titans, and Justin Lin, director of Fast and Furious 3, 6, and 9. The 10th installment of the Fast and Furious movies, and the first part of the ending. Yeah, it's a 3-parter now. Originally 2 movies, but now they have 1 more. These next 2 movies are going to be as bloated as the Hobbit trilogy, aren't they? 12 movies, not bad for something that was initially just considered a Point Break ripoff. Now it's reinvented itself so completely that I can probably just play footage from the trailer for the original to avoid Universal's copyright bots, and it would look different enough that nobody would mistake it for the new one. Anyway, this time the crew is up against a guy played by Jason Momoa. He's the son of the bad guy they killed in Fast 5 and has spent the last 10 years plotting revenge against them. And he steals the show every scene he's in. Going into this, I was expecting him to just be an evil version of Aquaman, or maybe Khal Drogo, since I wasn't expecting much of the more comedic parts of his Aquaman character. But what I got was comedic elements galore. He hams this performance up big time. He's a smart, menacing villain, but he's also a flamboyant and charismatic one. You get to see him having light conversations with dead bodies that he propped up. You get to see him brag about his car's paint job by saying, "The carpet matches the drapes." He might be the most over-the-top character in an already extremely over-the-top franchise. As for the rest of it, it's what you'd expect and probably hope for. Big, tough guys in fast cars doing action scenes that would make the Mythbusters shit themselves.
If it could be done in a car, they did it. If it violates the laws of God and gravity, they did it twice.
When it began, I was a little worried by how I wasn't as hooked as I could have been, But then somewhere maybe halfway through the first big action scene where they play Rocket League with a nuclear bomb through the streets of Rome, I was in. It's all over the top and kinda humorous in that regard. If you've seen any of these movies from 5 on, you know what to expect. And you get that. It unfortunately doesn't try to have that one set piece that one-ups the last movie in terms of outrageousness, but then again, they may have set the bar a little too high with launching that car into space in the last one. But since this is only the first part of the story, it does kind of feel incomplete at the end. It ends on a cliffhanger, and not in the same way that Infinity War did, where now they have to start a new adventure. More like it just cuts out right in the middle of the action, just when things are heating up and we don't know how our heroes will get out alive. One of the big trailer scenes that's in all the promotional materials is actually pretty close to just being the ending of the movie. Like the cliffhanger happens like right after this. Don't you hate it when trailers spoil the movie? But the second part is probably somewhere around the corner, and it'll be cool to see how this all wraps up. It's all pretty nonsensical, but it's entertaining. It's got fast-paced action and an unhinged Jason Momoa. Come witness the true power of family as it speeds past you at 100 miles an hour while shit blows up all around you.